We have two Canadian women wrestling here, Mark, in the final, and we have a 1-point score already in the match, which has matches Andrea Ross against Terri McNutt, and Andrea Ross and Terri both originate out of London. They have wrestled before in past tournaments. In fact, they wrestled already in this tournament in the same pool and have come out into the final. The result of that first match was, I think, Mark, Terri won that and fairly decisively.
Yep, Terri won on a pin, and I think they both have very similar. They each have won the CIS championship, and they've, I think, done well at the national level. I think each has come third at their weight class, so it's going to be a very tight match again.
Well, Andrea was a London wrestler and won, I believe, this championship a number of years ago when she was in this area competing. She's now wrestling for the University of Calgary, as evidenced by her red singlet with the dinos on the back of it. And Terri is a University of Western Ontario product, coached by Ray Takahashi, who's in her corner now. And Ray indicated that he thought this was going to be a barn burner, and a pin doesn't always mean that the opponent is dominant over the other. A pin can happen rather quickly. Both shoulders touching the mat simultaneously for 1 second is certainly something that can easily happen to you in a wrestling match. But as it stands right now, we have Andrea Ross out of the Dino Wrestling Club in Calgary winning the match 1-0, and she's looking for evening the score in terms of this tournament, because she had lost earlier to Terri McNutt. And it looks like she's driving Terri out for a second point, because Terry's foot clearly went out of bounds. Red gets 1 point for that. And Red is up 2-1 in the first round with 7 seconds to go. Women's wrestling has come an awful long way in Canada, and this last year the University of Western Ontario won the Ontario University Women's Wrestling Championship for the first time. So in this area, wrestling in the women's category is outstanding. Both of these girls really are London products, and I know that Ray is proud of both of them. Right now he's coaching Terri McNutt, however, and he's down 1 point, or 1 round, and is coaching Terri to come back. What would you advise Terri to do, Mark? What would you think she needs to do to come back in this match? Because it seems as though she was controlled by Andrea.
I think she's just got to get away from that 2-on-1 and hopefully open up some offense here. Get in on her legs and hopefully be a little bit more explosive.
She might have been riding the wave of a previous pin, feeling as though she would just sort of automatically roll through, but this first round has woken her up a little bit, so we'll see if we get something different from her. They're both, at least Terri is appearing to be bent on doing some upper body work, and we get a little glimpse of what might be happening as we finish our freestyle matches and go into some Grecos later on. Terri, I think, would like to do some throws, and that a throw from the feet to the back is worth 3 points. So a single leg where you take your opponent and they land on their stomach is only 1, so it's well worth the effort if you can manage it.
But it's a little more riskier than shooting a leg shot. I think you're a little safer with the leg shot, and sometimes you can stalemate it easier than with a throw, because you really got to commit with your throws.
Score is 0-0 in the second round. Andrea Ross winning the first narrowly, 2-0. Therefore is in control of the match, and should she win the second round that we're in at this point, she'll win the match and the Commonwealth Championship, regardless of the previous result, which had Terri McNutt winning by a pin.
This could go into a coin toss again for this round.
Wonderful. Well, sometimes it appears as though the wrestlers are content to draw to a 0-0 tie, which is really worthy of those who dictate how a match will be scored. It's worthy of their attention. That especially at this point, I would think Andrea Ross would be quite happy to have a 0-0 result, perhaps giving her the opportunity to win the toss and win the match, and she's maybe willing to let it go at that. And so we have a very much of a stalemate second round. Now, we should say that if the wrestlers go out of bounds on their knees, it doesn't result in the point. And sometimes the referees have to make a decision on whether the action was on the knees or on the feet, and they can get rather tricky there. So we're into another coin toss.
And
I
blue
think
is
it's
one.
blue. Yeah, blue's one, which is for Terri very fortunate, because I think if red had won this coin toss, the match would have been over. Now, perhaps they'll prove us wrong, and blue may not score here. In fact, she doesn't, and red scores a point, which is very unusual to see a wrestler score a point when the other person has the leg. And Amanda has won the match, and therefore has won the Commonwealth Championship with perhaps an upset over Terri McNutt. Certainly, Terri would have expected to do better than that. However, she should be congratulated for being where she is and wrestling well throughout a tournament. The winner in the women's 55 kilogram division, Andrea Ross, formerly of London and currently from